Yuuuup, episode 22.
Welcome, yeah.
Yin
Thank you.
Yoga Jen.
Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. No worries at all. If you haven't heard of Jen, get onto her Instagram. She's all about that yoga, meditation, swim life.
Yeah, we have the good vibes going at the minute.
Swabber.
Yeah.
Swabber. I did your meditation last week down in Portmarnock.
Yeah, for the full moon swim.
Full moon swim. And I'm a huge believer in meditation. I'm probably doing it 20 years. And I used to struggle with doing it at the start, and now I down to grab a couple of minutes here, there, do prolonged bits. And it was explained to me, somebody else kind of brought me through what to do, and I was like, this is how it was explained to me. It's like prayer is asking God for stuff, and meditation is listening for the answers.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, very good.
That's the way. And there's probably somebody listening going, that's bollocks. Well, it sits well with me, and I like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's very similar to what I would have in my mind as well to describe it. Yeah, because I have great faith.
Yeah.
And I believe in God, and I'm not afraid to shy away from that. I've had multiple experiences, and I know what my truth is.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with saying prayer. So I know some people do probably think the religious aspect, but to me, prayer is words.
Yeah.
And it's conversation, and what we're doing now is praying. It's prayer. It'll go up into the universe.
And I have, for years, I had no faith, and I don't go to church, chapel, or meeting place, but I believe in God.
Yeah.
And I pray every day and pray every evening. I have a huge belief.
Yeah.
I have a good faith,
you
know, and people are probably listen to this going, he fucking courses and he does this and he does, you're fucking right.
That's
I do.
like me.
I'm a fucking normal human being.
I did the live Instagram chat on Friday night with Kenneth from the Cherry Orchard Running Club, and as I'm talking, my auntie's texting, you're fucking coursing again. And I was like, I can't help it. It's just the way I am. Yeah. And if I try and change that, it's not real. It means I'm on guard.
Yeah.
And I'm watching what I'm saying. Yeah. And if I'm watching what I'm saying, then the truth is just not going to come out.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I really get that. So going back, I'm going to go back.
Yeah, okay.
To grown up. So again, we a few people here from on this podcast. I think you're the fifth. Yuuuup the flats.
Yeah, up the flats.
From York Street.
Yeah.
In town. So grown up, what year were you born?
Oh God, we have to tell.
Yeah,
so I was born in 83, and I would have lived in the York Street in the halls.
Okay.
So they were the old Georgian buildings.
Yes.
But they're not like that now.
Yeah.
They've been torn down and built back up. But that's my dad's side.
Okay.
That's like I've a huge family in there. And then my ma's from Crumlin, Stanaway Road.
Okay.
So when I was about 4, we moved out of the flats, out to Blanche, Ladies Wellview. But that was like coming from the concrete jungle out to a farm.
Yeah.
That was just totally nothing that any of us had ever experienced before. Like to be bleeding cows in the garden and all when you woke up. There was nothing. There wasn't a housing estate. There wasn't even an M50 or the N7 at that time. It was just, to get to Blanche, you had to go up the Chapel Lizard Hill. Yeah. You know, you had to go up that way, and it was just a whole other experience. But I never settled. I never settled out there. Any chance I had, I was back to me nanny. I'd stay every weekend in there all my life. So although me home, as you say, was in Blanchestown, my heart was in town.
You see what you say there. My ma moved out of Summerhill in 1955. So she moved out of Summerhill out to Raheny, and like she never settled.
Yeah.
Ever. You know, her family moved out, her ma and dad, but and I think Damien Dempsey had a song like that they moved us northbound out to the reservations.
Yeah.
Some line. And about you saying you never settled. Like my ma never settled. She, like you'd say to her now, where are you from? And she'd go, I'm from Summerhill.
Yeah.
But she's lived in Raheny all her life. It's like, now you only lived in there for a few years. But
my heart is in there.
That's the way she is.
Yeah.
She's D1 at heart.
Yeah.
That's what she say to you, like, you know what I mean?
And I think it's just because I was so involved in my family. Like I was the first grandchild, so the apple in my nanny's eye, and she's hardcore, you know, and that's where I learned. It's where I learned all me lessons, like me compassion and me energy is from there. So that's, I think I kind of rebelled when I went out to Blanchardstown.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the right track.
But as well, that moving out there, like what you said, your family, and it was a huge family, you're moving people out. They haven't got them surroundings.
It was a disconnection.
They're
It was,
strangers.
Yeah, it was.
No,
it was
they're in a similar boat, but you know what I mean? You've been moved.
There was definitely a disconnection within me spirit. Within, they say, you know, up to the first 7 years of your childhood, any experiences that you have will impact how you develop as a person. And I definitely think that move would have had a major, what's the word? Influence on me teenage years.
Yeah. And then, ladies, well, what was it like growing up in Blanche?
Oh God.
Just awkward teenage stuff.
It was wild. It was like the Wild West. I'm from Wellview, so it's just a mad estate. There's one way in and one way out. Barriers, police won't go in near it.
Yeah.
Horses, robbed cars in the gardens. Like, it was just wild.
So that's, when I come down by Ladies Well, take a right and right again.
Into Wellview, yeah. So if you're coming down the back road where the...
And then Farlickstown is on further.
Farlickstown's first, and then Wellview was hidden up behind that, behind the traveller's site.
Okay.
So we all just grew up in a mad... and if you were from the area, you had a chance of surviving. But God love anyone who moved in a few years after it was established, because you just didn't make it.
Yeah.
You just didn't. Like, you were not trusted.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
And, like, growing up, what kind of pulled you towards then? When did you come across the yoga or the fitness, or what age were you when that kind of appeared into your life?
So I'd say from the age of 11 up until 25, I was wild.
Okay.
So running away from home, a lot of trauma, violence, all that stuff, gangland and all that stuff I would have experienced. And then when I got pregnant, I was 25 and I had Mia at 26, and I knew that something had to change, that I didn't want to be that kind of a woman, and I didn't want to be that kind of mother who left her kids to go off every weekend. And no offence to anyone, but that just wasn't the path that I wanted to take. I'd had enough pain, I'd had enough humiliation, because that's what that lifestyle brings. And you know, if there's young girls listening and they're looking at fellas with these flashy cars and all that jazz, and they think, you know, oh, I want that lifestyle, trust me, it's not going to bring you anything good in the end. And there's a shitload of work to be done on yourself if you manage to come away from that lifestyle. That's what no one ever told me that. I didn't understand that. It'd be another 11 years of hard inner work and facing painful truths to undo a lot of the damage that was done in that environment. So I suppose I was always in counselling. I think that actually had a negative impact. I found counselling for me didn't work. The style that they were teaching me was to keep reliving stuff. Keep talking about it. And I remember one woman said to me, something happened to you bad in your past, but we don't know what it is yet. Let's find it. And sure, Jesus, that just took me down a dark hole trying to find the reason of why am I like this? And it wasn't until I started to educate myself around the spiritual aspect of learning that the healing started to happen and the freedom started to come, and that kind of darkness that had always been there since I was a kid started to lift. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I've been practicing this kind of spiritual life, I'd say, try and learn in the last maybe 10 plus years. So me, it'd be 12 now in February.
Right.
So when she was around 2, I actually ended up in a 12-step fellowship.
Okay.
And I spent 5-6 years there, and 100% would recommend for everybody in life to develop or practice a 12-step program.
Yeah.
Because what that did was it brought me closer to my truth. It brought me them experiences with God that I needed, because my heart was shattered.
Yeah.
There was no joy.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the darkest times was when, like, when your baby is a little toddler, your boys or your girls, they want to run to their mammy and their daddy, and they want to wrap their arms around. No, you know, when they miss you. But I know when my little girl went to kiss me on the lips, I would turn my head.
Yeah.
And it was like a reaction.
Yeah.
And I had to look at that, and I would turn my head because I didn't know how to accept love.
Yeah.
And there was a shame there. Mm-hmm. I was looking at her through how I felt about myself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does.
So there was an awful lot of work that had to happen to unwire that belief, them core beliefs.
Mm-hmm. And like what you touched on there is like that whole shame thing.
Yeah.
Shame and not feeling good enough, insecurity, inadequate. And a person I know at the moment, I had to do something there a while ago for a parent of his. And I was with this parent of his on my own for about 2 hours. And I left. And after them 2 hours, I understand now why this bloke is lost in himself on crack cocaine, running around the place. And I just experienced it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what it makes me want to do every time I see him is put my arms around him, give him a hug and say, you're good enough.
Yeah.
That's what it makes me want to do for him, because he never got that.
It's really emotional stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
And we look at life, there's so much of this going on. You know what I mean? And some of it's necessary and some of it's unnecessary. And what I mean is, there's people out there having kids and they don't mean to do this. It's just what they came through, and it's what they came through, and it's what their grandparents came through, and blah, blah, blah. And it just falls downwards.
And that's exactly what I learned in Al-Anon, if I can say it. That's they're the principles that I live my life by today. And I had to go back and look at like all the relationships that I would have got into were with men who abused drugs and abused alcohol. So there was some kind of common denominator within me that was bringing me into them situations. And when I went back to look at that, I could see that my home environment was the first place where the disconnection happened, because myself and my mother, there probably would have been a lot of resentment and a lot of hatred between the two of us. It was working both ways. And it was only when I went and started to look back at how my mother's upbringing impacted her. And then I was able to look at me nanny, like they grew up in hard, cold times. And when you don't know the tools, it's very hard to change it. When you don't have the awareness around it. So my ma probably thought that being that way with me was going to keep me on the straight and narrow. But my perception of that was, she doesn't care. She doesn't love me. She fucking hates me. I'm getting out of this gaff. And I would rebel and I would cause carnage. Because I just thought she didn't care. But when I sat down with another woman who was my sponsor, and she used to just ask simple questions like, did you ever get jelly? Because I would just want to go in and for that hour blame me man, give out. She's this, she's that. And she did, that wasn't going to help me. There's no point in agreeing with someone's shit. It's not going to help them. So I remember she said to me one day, like, did you ever get jelly and ice cream when you were a kid? A simple question. And I was like, oh yeah, my ma used to make these banana boats. And then she said, well, no, I don't want to hear you give out about your ma ever again. She said, because it wasn't all bad. And then that day, I needed someone to speak to me in my language. And I was like, shit, it wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
We were spotless, John.
Yeah.
Fucking, we wouldn't want for nothing.
Yeah.
But the emotional stuff just wasn't there. But
Yeah.
everything else was provided for.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I was blinded.
I think we're more aware of that now these days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you look at the problem or the solution, like, and that adolescent brain,
Yeah.
the adolescent brain can only look at the problem. It can't look at the solution.
Yeah.
And like, if you spoke to me 30 years ago, or you speak to me now, the way I'd speak now is a lot different
Yeah.
than I would have 30 years ago. And now with my parents, all I want to do is look after them
Yeah.
and mind them.
Yeah.
Because and thank them.
Yeah.
Because now I realise what they went through. I would have been like, how the fuck did you get through that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what happened to them in their lives? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Me dad, crazy shit. But like, how he got to that stage, like, you look back, and whereas I would have in my adolescent years been, fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Because it's when you're in that adolescent monkey brain, it's all me, oi, oi, oi.
You have your emotional brain and the logical brain, and my emotional brain overrided everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought my feelings are facts, and
Yes.
you made me feel like this, and I stayed in that
Yeah,
poor me victim
yeah.
role. And that woman again, I tell you, she used to bleed and cut me in half, Don. I used to go to her every Sunday at 2:00 up in Ranelagh, and I'd feel like she'd have a bleeding shotgun, sitting there at the shotgun of truth, and she'd blast you. And I remember she just very well spoken, fur coat, and she just would pull down the glasses. And I remember I was fucking crying about something, wasn't loved enough, and she just said to me, Jennifer, victims don't recover.
Yeah.
And I was like, she called me a victim. And I knew she was telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I had a decision that day. Do I want to grow up?
Yeah.
I want to pull up the big girl pants now? Or do I want to keep kicking and screaming? And I was embarrassed, John.
Yeah.
She humbled me.
Yeah.
And there's a great saying she used to say to me, Jen, you can be humiliated or you can be humbled.
Yeah.
And I was sick of being humiliated, John. I'd had enough.
Yeah.
And I listened to her. And I went to that woman every Sunday for 18 months. And if you missed an hour, if you were 5 minutes late, she'd cancel you.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you didn't turn up, she'd give you a slot to someone else.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of consistency that she wanted to see. Who means it? You know, and it was hard. But I needed it.
Yeah.
Because I was so undisciplined.
Yeah.
I didn't have no kind of rules. And that's what the 12-step program taught me in my life was discipline.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the martial arts, is the discipline, the fight. And I love it. And people will be like, you're all namaste. And I'm like, yeah, but I loved it because I respect it.
Yeah.
I respect what people have to do to get to that level. It's discipline.
And with martial arts, I practice fucking 5-6 times a week.
Yeah.
And what I like about it is you have to take what works and discard what doesn't. Like what we're talking about now. You take what works and you discard what doesn't.
You have to let go.
And what works? Me pointing the finger and saying, I didn't get the fucking brand new Air Max 1990s like your man out the road, which made me feel shy, or my parents didn't drive a blah, 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 or, you know, that's window dressing.
Yeah.
It's looking at the real stuff.
You have to ask yourself, that's the outside stuff. What's that saying about me? What am I really trying to say is I don't feel good enough.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's very hard to say that.
And I was talking with a family member of mine who lives abroad, you know, and there would have been a bit of addiction in our family, you know, and I was trying to explain to her, and this person does a lot of work on herself and she's a lot of questions she wants answered and stuff like that. And she was trying to find out, like, you know, about addiction and her dad and why couldn't her dad stop, and eventually the poor man died. But it's like, do you know what a monkey puzzle tree is? Did you ever hear of a monkey puzzle tree? So it's a weird looking tree with spikes all over it.
Yeah.
And the reason why they call it a monkey puzzle tree is because it would be a puzzle for a monkey how to climb it.
Right, yeah, I get
So
that, yeah.
trying to explain addiction, you can't do it.
You can't. You have to experience it.
And even experiencing it, you're like, why? Like you're looking at a loved one going, why can't they just stop?
Yeah.
Because it's a fucking multitude.
It's too big.
What helps is love, support, compassion, not fucking hiding it or fucking trying to rescue them or, you know what I mean?
And we can step into that role, and that was my role for so long, was to fix people, and I'm going to save these people.
Yeah.
And I understand today that I step into that role when I get confused with my feelings and their feelings. I can take on someone else's pain, and because I'm not able to manage that and sit with that, shit, I better fix them. So I'll stop hurting looking at them.
Yeah.
That was a big bleeding eye opener for me.
And it's mad, like looking at kind of witnessing other enablers.
Yeah.
Like you'd see fucking murder over addiction. Like when I was younger, you see fucking murder and you're going, holy Jesus. And you're looking at it. And then you'd see the person that's after fucking causing murder over the addict going out, buying them a bottle of something.
Yeah.
And just be going, what
just happened there? Yeah. It's the madness, it's the insanity, isn't it?
And but when you get to understand that and by identifying it and looking at it and growing from it, you can say, yeah, that's probably not the way to do things. And then what draws you towards that craziness, or what draws me towards that craziness, is that I'm spiritually bankrupt, emotionally bankrupt, and I need to feel needed and wanted.
Yeah. You're getting your needs met. And even if it's
fucked up.
Yeah, in a fucked up way. And I always say that even if it's a painful needs, it's still getting met. And I would have experienced a lot of domestic violence. And the worst thing anyone could have said to me was, you're mad, leave him, he's this, he's that. I know that. And the more you keep shouting that to me, the worse it's making me feel about myself.
Yeah.
I don't have the tools to leave yet because I haven't understood what's keeping me here.
Yeah.
And I was getting a need met, even if it was a painful one. There was something keeping me going back. And that's the kind of stuff that we need to help people identify. Not this self-righteous or spiritual holy top looking down, because that's making me stay worse because I can't listen to you. I know what's happening here. I can manage this somehow, but I can't face the truth that you're telling me.
And it's getting back to that again, that love, compassion, support.
Yeah.
And it's easy me saying that.
Yeah.
It's easy
Very
me
easy
saying
to
that.
say it.
It's simple.
Yeah.
It rolls off the tongue. When I have to live in the middle of that, which I've experienced that, you're like going, it's a fucking different ball game.
Yeah,
it's a
very
fucking
different.
mind fuck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I see loads of addicts and I've lost friends and stuff like that, and I just feel compassion for them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I feel so much compassion. And my ma always had a saying, do you know what I mean? They're somebody's son. And they are.
Yeah.
And they didn't, their parents didn't rear them for that. And they didn't grow up to be that. But like, I would be a big advocate of decriminalising drugs and, you know what I mean? Decriminalising everything. Do you know what I mean? They're punished enough. So they didn't get raised for that. They're somebody's son and they need a bit of compassion. And also, like, the family members who are being abused.
Yeah.
And a family member there a good couple of years ago told me they were being violently abused. I was fucking shocked.
Yeah.
I was fucking shocked. I never knew it. They kept it to themselves and
hidden.
suffered horrific fucking injuries, like,
Yeah.
and kept it to themselves, like domestic violence. I never knew it, like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's
There's the shame and the stigma on it.
fucking going on so much. Can you imagine what's going on right now?
Yeah.
With this fucking financial insecurity, people's jobs gone. Can you fucking imagine? Like,
And I think that's one of the reasons why probably that my classes are being so successful is that I've managed to reach, I don't know what the terms is. I've found my core group.
Yeah.
And I love having the men in my class, but I've got a huge amount of young girls and women coming into my class, and it's not my job to fix anybody. But I will give you the tools to build yourself up, and you will be able then to make a decision in your life of what's for you and what's not. And I see that now. I'm getting loads of people coming in. I kind of get the broken souls, you know. And I know at the start of someone's journey into the kind of spiritual aspect is extremely painful, and they're very vulnerable. And I'm so protective of people who come into my class. You know, I'm aware that there can be predators in life, and I'm very mindful of everyone, man and woman, that comes into me class. You know, it's a very safe space. And
I'm a big believer, like, just touching what you said there, it's like women keep the women, men keep the men. Do you know what I mean? When they're talking about that type of stuff.
You have to know who you're going to, and you have to understand what the person's motives is for listening to you. Because I learned the hard way myself that not everybody is what they seem. And I would have been so vulnerable that if somebody waved a bleeding golden flag and said, "Come with me, I'll fix you," I'd have just went. I was very naive, but I was desperate to be helped. And unfortunately, it led me into situations with people that I probably shouldn't have went into, and it caused a lot of damage. So I'm very mindful of that, and I've worked in mental health, frontline addiction, homeless services for the last 11 years, so I understand your boundaries. I'm very trained in that sort of stuff as well. But I got a picture sent to me a few weeks ago from one of the girls who came to me class, extremely broken, like her heart, the pain that this girl was in, and I knew it. And then she sent me a picture a few weeks ago of her college acceptance.
Deadly.
And that John means more to me than this whole Instagram, blogger, social media famous thing. Like, I don't give a bollocks, sorry for my language, if I don't have a blue tick on my name. That's who I'm looking to help, and that's what I meant about with me core group. We're reaching people who probably wouldn't feel as comfortable going into bigger studios that can have that spiritual ego. Look, I'm just going to say it like it is. And when people come into my class, I'm very aware of my own ego, and I don't let them put me on pedestals, because that's not where I'm meant to be. And I think that's probably why it's working at the minute. It's not my class, it's our class.
And by you saying that, you know what I mean? It's like this podcast was set up to talk with normal people, to have a chat about things. And like, I'm not a mad social justice warrior. I curse. I fucking I have fucking opinions, which you mightn't agree with. I don't give a bollocks. Do you know what I mean? But I am, one thing I'm passionate about is helping people. I'm very and I do it. And the reason why I do it is because it helps me. And I'm not going to be putting up fucking videos of myself walking around or doing whatever. I do it on the quiet. Why? Because my ego wants me to go, "Oh, look at me here helping your man." And your ego wants you to do that. But you have to crush your ego on a daily basis.
And it's mad that you're saying that, because I'm doing the 6 weeks Monday morning mindset with everybody, because I get, every time the lockdown happens, I get this big influx of Jen, so I said, right, and every week I try to incorporate something that I bring into myself, and just try and just let people have them own light bulb moments. Is part of the second week was to add in a random act of kindness, but you're not to tell anyone that you did it, and you've not to fucking post it. If I see anyone tagging at the buying such and such a coffee, or I threw a $5 in the cup, you fucked it up. And the reason for that was, it's your ego, and I want you to see how strong our ego can be to want to tell the world, look what I did. So that was the thing that we incorporated last week, was to do something nice for someone and don't tell anyone, and don't even tell that person.
And that's with human ego, that is a fucking hard thing to do.
It's very hard.
Because our egos are, whoa, look at me.
And I battle with it myself as well, because from working in homeless for years and seeing, I've been out on them soup runs for a long time, and what breaks my heart is people taking pictures of someone sitting in a sleeping bag, handing them a fucking selection box or a sandwich, and I'm like, they might have said at the time because they're so fucked up and they don't know how to say no.
Don't do that.
But their family or their mother might see that picture, and they might have seen their baby in 7-8 months, and next of all, you know, I just think that there's a line that you shouldn't cross with that stuff. But I battle with it. I have a little platform, and I always try and help where I can, and the suicide prevention Dublin 15 is very close to my heart, and they don't get any funding. Just two Mas, Lillian, her son Greg was my best friend, and he took his life, and she set it up. So the only way I have at the minute to promote it is through social media, and I battle with that because I don't want people to think that is worthwhile. And if anyone misunderstands what I'm saying, like what you said about the person in the selection box, and there's that stuff, but that other stuff of getting funding, and I know wafflers and chancers. I see them coming a mile off. Why? Because I was fucking one when I was younger. I was fucking one. So I fucking see them coming a mile off. Why? Because I fucking was one. Do you know what I mean? And so, but what you're doing is different. It's good, and you can see that you can see that by fucking 200 plus people turning up on that beach. It's very powerful, isn't it?
That's mental. It's deadly. Like I was in swimming that day. I kind of made up my mind. My eyesight is fucked. I can hardly see. Like, it's terrible. People always say, "You fucking prick, you walk by me." If I haven't got glasses on, it's hard. But I was like, me bollocks, am I going down there in that dark? I'd be like feeling around the little place. So I swam that day, but me and Yvonne went over for the meditation. Because every single person needs to meditate. Mornings, evenings, if you can do it a couple of minutes, whatever, you need to meditate to slow down your brain. And how you need to meditate is, if you put your head on the pillow at night time and your mind is going 300 miles an hour, you need to fucking meditate.
You need to meditate.
Because they call that a racing mind, washing machine head. You know what I mean? You need meditation in your life. You know what I mean? To slow that down. But you can see what you're doing with 200 plus people turning up. There's something in that. And it's like, I see it. Do you know what I mean? And I consider myself part of that fucking community.
Oh, you're in the gang now.
All them swimmers and like, I'm part of that community because I go down there and there's blokes I've started talking to down there and like that I'm mixing with. I went to school with 30 years ago, and they're down there with their families, and I've seen all different people, and it's deadly. Like, it's a good old community.
There's a whole other world out there, and I think when your heart is open and you're living on that frequency of, like what you said, of helping and giving, that's the law of attraction. It's the heart coherence. And when you raise your vibration and you're going around your daily life on that level, you will meet everyone else that's also on that level. But I try. It was very hard for me coming out as a yoga teacher because I didn't have great experiences in big yoga studios because I didn't feel like I fit in. I'm a talker. When I go into a class, all right, how are you? And sometimes you go into places and it's very like, don't look at me, don't talk to me. You know, and they're not me people. So I was like, shit, what am I going to do here? And like, if you walk into my class 10 minutes before any of my classes start in the studio, the thing is buzzing. The stick is flying, the banter. I'm getting more stick off than anyone else. And then I remember I got slated by other yoga teachers for what I was doing in their stories. Like, I knew that it was targeted at me. And these were girls I trained with. And I was like, oh, fuck that. Like, them bleeding yoga teachers, that's toxic. I'm not going near, I'm out. And it knocked me confidence for a long time. I didn't think I was going to continue teaching.
But that's how you know you're doing something right.
Well, I'm
when
happy
there's
now
people
that
talking a bit of shite like that. They're insecure.
But
about
when you're insecure and you're vulnerable and you see your peers slagging you off, it can knock you.
Yeah.
And only I'm lucky that I've dealt with that all my life. I know I play them girls all day long, and I could have reverted back into. Wait till I see her, I'm gonna fucking kill her. You know what? That was where I was going. I go down to that studio, I'm gonna pull her out and
go full York Street on
I
you.
was going in, and then I just thought, no, Jen, no, it's not the person that you are, and just let it be. And I've stayed true to myself. I'm trying to not be fake, and I'm trying not to come across as fake on my page.
Yeah.
And I'm also aware of that toxic positivity stuff as well. That it's not all airy-fairy.
No.
That's not life.
No.
Some days I'm having a panic attack on the street. Some days I'm singing my heart out walking down the road. And that's just the way I am. And I hope that it comes across like that on my page. That although I'm out having a great time, it's fucking hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, and there's a saying in jiu-jitsu as well. It's like, not every mat is for you.
Yeah.
It's not a universal thing. You have to find your own place.
Yeah, I like that.
You know,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
like I've gone to places when I was starting off, and I was like, I don't know what it is. It's probably me.
Yeah.
Probably me.
I have judgments everywhere I go.
I'm like, I'm just not feeling it here.
Yeah.
And like, I was over in headquarters for years, and I felt it there. Like, I felt comfortable there. Do you know what I mean? And I'm down in Charlestown at the moment. I just moved because of work, and I'm comfortable there.
Yeah.
It's they're my people.
They are
I feel, you know, I feel normal. But other places I floated around, it's like, I'm not sure whether it was them or it didn't feel right. That's all right.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's not that them, it's not me. Yeah. I'm not better than them and they're not. But it's like trying to put two magnets together.
Yes.
There's just a different energy. And like what I was saying, we're all vibrating on our own little frequency. And when you're in a room that's not for you, you'll know. Yeah. You won't know why. Yeah. But intuitively, you'll know. Yeah. I'm just not going back there.
It's like with people talking shite or stuff like that. What I say on my Instagram is what I'd say to your face. Do you know what I mean?
And that's how I started following you. Yeah. When you used to do your little videos. But the anacresial stuff.
Yeah.
That I remember how hurt you were over that.
That killed me.
You were genuinely hurt, and nobody else was expressing that emotion towards it. And I knew he's real. He's feeling that.
I walked around that area.
Yeah.
And I probably drive by where them two young fellas done that. And I remember thinking, like, fucking, I was in my brain going, she'd fucking 6 months jiu-jitsu, she would have strangled that cunt.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
You know, and if anything comes out of this, get your young ones in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
6 months jiu-jitsu, she would have put that cunt unconscious. And because and then I was listening to the evidence from the younger one.
Yeah.
That was, I think it was a foreign young fella. And he was like, me looking into it, do you know what I mean? I think the older one just completely took advantage of him, got him to knock up to our house. And this older one was a smart. And now both of them are out in Lusk, 330 grand a year to keep each of them there. You know, but hopefully they do their time, they learn from the experience. But I was, because it was raw for me, that because I walked all around there and I was like, I'm that emotional type person that I'm like, fuck, little cunts. You know what I mean?
You knew it was wrong on all levels. And my daughter would be, she's so spiritual and she's just a great energy, but she's very soft. Yeah. So when we moved last year from the Blanchardstown side over to Castleknock side, I was terrified that she's going to go to this new secondary school. Yeah. And these are not her people she's grown up with. Yeah. And the young ones today can be very cruel. You know, this Snapchat commit. Yeah. The online bullying stuff, me nerves are gone. And I said to her, like, she doesn't live with me full time. Right. She's me man. No, they're only 10 minutes away. She's in my house now, but her school, she's in 6th class, and she said, Mammy, I don't want to leave my friends for the last year.
Yeah.
And if I took her out of school in 6th class, she resented me for that for a long time. Yeah. And I said, well, okay, love, you can stay in nannies on school nights, but you have to join a club. Any club, you pick the club up where we live, so that she'd mix with girls her own age going in. And she joined GAA, and Jay's, I tell you, when I seen her on that pitch and they're pushing her around, I'm crying. I'm like, she's going to get battered. She's going to hate this. Yeah. And now you want to see her. She's elbowing them girls back. She's a defender. That's her thing. She loves it. And she's like, she's raging now that the matches aren't done. She's like, oh man, I was just getting into it. Like I'm fighting back. And she loves pushing now. She's finding that heat in her, that fire. Yeah. And I'm so glad, because you need it, especially for teenagers. There isn't really a transition period, or there isn't really anything in the curriculum that teaches children what they're going to experience now going into first year. There's a huge disconnection. Yeah. You know, they've come from this little naive, innocent little gang that are still playing tag chasing in the schoolyard, and now they're into filters, Snapchats. It's a whole other ball game she's going into, and I'm nervous for that. And
I've experienced with like, I would have read into that case a lot, and I've experienced only with boys. Yeah. And boys are physical. Yeah. I was a boy. Yeah. And a boy is, I'll meet you out at school 4:00 and we have a straight
and they have a knock. Yeah. That was me. I was the boy. Boys.
Yeah. Girls.
It's very vicious.
And this is experts saying this, psychotherapists, psychologists. Girls are more mental, and I mean mental being they fucking text message till 3 in the morning. Into it. It's like, we want to fucking humiliate her across social media. It's real. Like what touched on you with them yoga fucking people who need to have a look at themselves. So it's social media. It's like, we want to humiliate. Now, boys to a lesser degree, but and this is parenting, my parenting rule 101 is with my boys, I say, listen, if somebody starts, you give them an opportunity. Yeah. I'm a big believer in the art of war. You give them a big opportunity to pack up their tent and move off. Yeah. If they don't, give it to the cunts.
Yeah, I'm like that.
Choke the cunt unconscious. Do you know what I mean? And I was dragged over to that school across Max, and I remember the teacher saying to me, going, Max seems to be under the illusion. This is what he said. And I'm listening to this father, fucking trendy fucking teacher, that if somebody hits him, he's allowed to hit them back. Yeah. It's like, you're for fucking real.
It's not an illusion, pal.
You're for fucking real. I said, if somebody hits him, you give it to them. That's life. You know what I mean? And like, and this is why it's important, like, mate, like, typing that to me across social media. Yeah. I'm real, like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not going to walk by you on the street, you know, and people forget that. Yeah. It's like, think about before you type that. Now, I've made mistakes, hands up on social media, and I fucking apologise to people, but I don't go out of my way to say something that I wouldn't fucking say to your face.
Yeah. Yes. You know I mean? Exactly. And
that's the disconnect these days, and especially with females. Yeah. It's like, don't fucking do that. Yeah. Don't be humiliating each other as teenagers. It's not a competitive thing. Yeah. You know, it's one of the aspects I fucking really hate about social media. Yeah. You know?
And I think that I'm a single mother, and I've always been a single mother. She got her heart broken by her father at a very young age. You know, he just wasn't available, we'll say, and he caused a lot of damage. So she's like my cub. Yeah. And I'm the lioness, and she's the kindest. I've well reared her. I know that now today. I am a fucking great mother. Like, she's an absolute pleasure to be around. And I've had to drill it into her because she's so kind, and she would find it very hard to defend herself. Yeah. And I've had to be a little bit tough on her to say, well, if you, because she did get bullied a little bit by an older fella in her class, like, I'm 6 foot. He was the bleeding same height as me, with shoulders like a bleeding footballer. Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, he's my baby. I wanted to kill him at the start. And you know, I had to pressure her a little bit to find her voice. And then she found it hard. She cried. And I was like, I'm not fighting with you, love. But if I don't teach you this now, this is going to keep happening to you. He's going to keep calling your names.
Yeah.
The girls are going to see it and they're going to do the same.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, love, that's life. And she's like, but Mammy, we're not allowed to fight. And I was like, you've not to fight. But if somebody puts their hands on you, you are not allowed back down.
It's game on.
And now she laughs because I went into the class. I went to the principal twice. He did nothing about this young fella.
Yeah.
And I went in one day and I dragged him out of the class myself. And I said, I'm going to stand here till 2:30. And if my child comes out and says, you've kicked her or called her the C word, I made sure he was never going to. And people were like, oh, he probably just likes her. No, he won't be kicking my little girl walking out the door. That's the mammy in me.
And it's this airy fairy world. Like, I meditate, I believe in God, blah blah blah. And I also, like, I love ancient mythology and reading like the Bible or ancient Greek stuff, whatever you want to read. Like they're all parables for dealing with life.
Yeah.
And it's how you interpret them.
Yeah.
And people interpret, this is the way it's explained to me by somebody and it sits well with me. Other people will go, oh no, it doesn't mean that at all.
Yeah.
Well, this is the way I interpret it. It's like, do you ever hear the passage in the Bible? It talks about turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
So in the Bible, if you get a clatter in the face and it says, turn the other cheek, you offer up your other cheek. Now, this is the way it's explained to me. If the clatter on that cheek is harder or the same velocity as the first one, game on.
Right. Okay.
Game on.
Yeah, and the great thing now about, even though it was very hard for me to say stuff to my daughter and watch her crying in front of me and say, Mammy, I can't. And now I've banged it on about her that much. She's like, Mammy, I can't let anyone bully me because then I know I'm going to get worse listed to you. And she's very good with her words that now I'm quite confident that if you tried to bully her, she'll actually embarrass you in front of everyone with her language because she'll bleed and psycho flip you in a minute. She'll be like, I understand that you're insecure in yourself and that's why you're, like, she's very good with her words and I'm kind of confident now that she's going into it with a little bit of a good grounding, good foundation in her.
And it's important, I think, and people are probably reading all the books and going, oh my God, conflict resolution and oh my God. I make no bones about it. I'm an old, violent hippie. That's the way I am.
Yeah.
Violence doesn't come out all the time, but it's there in the backup. And when all else fails, that's what's coming out. When dialogue no longer works, that's what's coming out. And it's important. People haven't felt that, and they feel confident nowadays behind the screen that they don't feel that.
Yeah.
But when they see a tiny bit of it, they're like, whoa.
They back off straight away. Whoa. Yeah.
And that's one of the major problems with health and safety and everything today, and all these teachers that they come out of these schools like, oh my God, you can't do that. Nah, not really.
That cancel culture and a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not helping, and we're not saying all the kids should go out and kill each other.
No.
But there is a level of real life that they have to be experiencing, and because when they're so sheltered, they're not experiencing things that they need in order for them to, how do I explain it? Like, they have to develop their own tools in life. Yeah. And they can't be so offended at everything. Yeah. Otherwise, any time life goes wrong, as it will, you know yourself, like, there's not that resilient in them. And I think that's probably why there's so much mental health difficulties in the teens and young people at the minute, is they're not having a chance to experience hardship, that they develop their own emotional resilience towards it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you have to let them experience coming up against difficult situations and bigger people than them, because they have to learn how to understand that in their brains and learn how to react to it instead of sitting on a phone telling people to go commit. There's
a guy I listen to a lot. He's a really smart guy. I'm actually going to send him his video to you after this.
Yeah.
and he talks about what you just spoke about there, but that victim mindset.
Yeah.
And that victim mindset is you need fucking adversity. And what you went through, and not to, I'm not saying, oh yeah, you need to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you need a bit of adversity in your life that people are going to say, no, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
You need to work harder at that.
Yeah.
Or you need to wrestle or do jiu-jitsu or get better
You
at
have
yoga
to,
or help people.
Develop all your emotions.
Yeah.
And you only get that through different experiences, good, bad, and indifferent. And we were talking about Philly before this, and me and Philly had a little chat a while ago, and he said to me, like, my dad was very sick last year, and he was talking about his dad passing away, and he said, even as hard as that is to lose his dad, I thought it was so powerful. He said, everybody should experience something like that. Maybe not a parent losing, but a big painful experience in order to develop empathy and compassion and understanding.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing that he said that everybody should experience it. So he's probably seeing what we're talking about, and people are not being allowed to have those painful experiences in their life in order to grow from them.
Yeah. Now, and like that, that's what's missing today. It's like the parents are so protective of their kids.
Yeah.
And I'm protective of my kids. But I can't protect them from adversity.
Yeah.
I can't go out in the wrestling match, or I can't go out in the jiu-jitsu match when someone's going to smash them up because your man's actually better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's life.
And like my kids, like they do their whatever. If they don't go anywhere, I have taught them a major lesson by enrolling them in these sports where 95% of it is failure.
Yeah.
You're going to fail.
Wow.
And that's good. 95% of wrestling, jiu-jitsu, MMA, you're probably going to fail. Your fucking teammates are going to smash you every day.
Yeah.
And when they're smashing you and you're constantly getting smashed, and then you get a bit better and you take a fight or you go into an event. You learn the
humility
and you
of
get
it,
smashed.
don't you? Yeah.
And it's adversity. And it's like, don't run away from it. Pick it up, bear it.
Yeah.
And
I think probably one of the greatest lessons that I've learned as a parent, when I had a baby, I was so immersed in protecting her and not letting her experience any kind of pain. No, she's not going to feel that, and I felt she's not going to go through that. And I remember someone pulled me up on it, and it'll be the greatest thing he ever said to me was, Jen, it's not your job as a parent to protect her from having her experiences. It's your job to walk her through it so she comes out the other side. And that has categorically changed my life and her life, because I was that nervous, anxious parent, like, oh my God, like she just can't cry, she can't feel pain, like no one's gonna hold my baby. And that was a massive turning point in me letting her dad come back into our life, even though I knew in my heart he was gonna let her down again. And I had to watch my baby's heart break. If that was her little life lesson, who am I to step in that way? Because now she has developed an emotional resilience that I've never seen in a child. She has gone through that, and it took her about 3 years to come through it the other side. But today it stands to her.
No.
And I had no right to block her from that experience, as much as it was crippling to me as a parent to watch. It wasn't my job to not let her have that experience.
And you see what you were saying there, like, I wholeheartedly identify with that. And there be so many people listening to this going, what
are they on about?
Why would you do that? Because the only thing I'm guaranteed is other human beings are going to let me down. And that's okay. I have coping skills now. That's okay, because nobody is perfect. We're all flawed. Dysfunction is the norm. Dysfunction is the norm.
And I'm going to let people down.
And it doesn't matter if you're living in a 15-bed gaff or a fucking one-bedroom flat. It's dysfunction.
It's the same.
We struggle We're great in every area of our life, but with other people, it's working it out. But when you do yoga, when you've been humbled, when you've been smashed by life and you come out the other side, it's like, I understand the game now.
Yeah.
And people are going to let me down. And that's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay. Humans will let us down. But when we go to them communities that we're involved in, like I'm going out to swim in the sea. I'm going to your meditation. I'm going to jiu-jitsu. Yeah, people will teach me and stuff. I have zero expectation. And that's not being bad. I have zero expectation being I'm here to try and sort my own stuff out, to try and get better in myself. Jen is going to guide me, but Jen can't do it for me.
No.
The coach in jiu-jitsu can't do it for me. I have to drill it and fail and fail and fail and fail. And eventually I'll stop failing. And I'll fail when I'm put under a bit of pressure. And then I'll start getting the hang of it. And then, Jesus, I'm actually doing this. And we're just funnels. But we can't, this is what we done. And you can learn from it. Yeah. Or you can do your own thing and fumble around in the dark. And eventually you might get there.
Yeah. And there's an old man in AA that I used to listen to his YouTube videos, and he always said that it's not our job to fix anyone. We are just way showers to the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, we're just way showers.
Yeah.
Like, I can't fix you, but I'll show you what I done, and it might work for you. If you're willing to take them steps.
Yeah.
You have to put the work in.
Yeah. And I like them 12 steps. It's a big a person I read a lot, and I'm going through one of his books at the moment. There's a guy called Joseph Campbell. Have you ever heard of The Hero's Journey?
No.
It's like a step-by-step. It's a really good book.
Is it?
You should check it
Right.
out. And he has another book called The Power of the Myth. He took a lot of influences from people like Nietzsche and Carl Jung, but it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's some of it's like, and I don't want to come across, oh yeah, Nietzsche. I'm like, understand that. Understand that.
Yeah.
It's like
you take little bits from
it. And I have
it,
a dictionary going, what does that big word read? And I'm fucking, all right, that's what that means. I might throw that in, but it's like that uncomfortable road.
Yeah.
It has to be uncomfortable. Because if it's plain sailing, do you know what?
You don't learn that in it. It's boring.
It's like me handing you, here you go, Jen, here's 10 pairs of fucking Air Max, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, great, that's great. And whereas if I bring you back to when you got your first part-time job and you're like putting 20 quid away and 5 quid and 10 quid in the credit union or whatever, and you go out and buy your own runners, which are better?
My own ones. I'm not even going to let a bit of dirt get on them.
You know what I mean? Which are better?
Yeah.
Because I've had to fucking graft for these and a bit of toil.
Yeah.
They're way better than, here you go.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a different respect, isn't it? Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to wrap it up at that. We're going to get Jen in again because this is a Walker podcast.
Thank you very much.
Give Jen a follow on Instagram.
Yin Yoga Jen.
And sign up to our meditation because it's deadly.
Yeah, and if you're around on the full moon, we'll be down at Portmarnock Beach for the full moon. Don't tell everyone, but don't tell anyone. That's what we're saying. So if you get stopped on the way, don't fucking tell who we are.
You know the sus. You know the sus.
Thank you.
No worries. And meditation, this was explained to me by a really, really good guy. Meditation, religion is for people that don't want to go to hell. Meditation and spirituality is for people that have been there.
Yeah.
Yuuuup.